after the Penn State scandal, several politicians in different states in the U.S. have decided that maybe it's a good idea to expand the mandated reporter list. Now, right now, in most states, a mandated reporter list consists of social workers, people who work with kids, caseworkers, that kind of stuff. But if this new legislation passes in the states that it's being proposed in, what would happen is every adult would be required to be a mandated reporter. So if you suspect child abuse, if you suspect molestation, you would have to report that to authorities. If you don't, you could face some serious penalties.
All right, we might have disagreement on this one because I think it's a really bad idea. Now, in a case like Penn State, you can understand why people are motivated to think along these lines because they were grossly negligent. All these people who clearly should have reported the child molestation and, in fact, child rape, did not report it, and it shocks the conscience, right? So do I agree that all those guys, Joe Paterno, et cetera, should have reported to the police? Absolutely, right? But if you make it a law, then you turn it into a giant witch hunt where everybody's like, well, do I suspect? I mean, if I suspect and I don't say anything, well, then I'm going to get in trouble and I might get arrested. Okay, I suspect, right? And then think of all the people who are going to be, brought up on charges or investigated because somebody suspected, rightly or wrongly, and then you create a whole mess, if you ask me.
I'm a little more split on this than you are, but I definitely do see the downsides because also consider the number of people who will be suspected, and during that investigation, their entire lives will be ripped apart. There's no question about that. Even if you haven't been found guilty yet, if you're being investigated for child molestation, I mean, you could lose your job, there could be some serious issues within your family. So I see the downsides. However, there needs to be something done to prevent things that are similar to the Penn State situation, because the fact that there were all of these adults involved that didn't go to the authorities, I think is problematic. But, it's important to look at the case studies. Right now, there are 18 states in the U.S. That have this expanded, mandated reporter list, and the results are very mixed. Mm-hmm. Because they're wasting a lot of resources investigating cases on people that didn't do anything wrong.
And on the other hand, I'm sure they're catching some people that they might not have otherwise caught. So it's not an easy question on this. Jayar?
Yeah, it's not straightforward, easy, but the thing is I mean, I would, first thing I compared it to is general rape of adults, generally women, right? A woman would, accuse someone of rape. Sometimes it's false, sometimes it's true. I think most of the time it's true if a woman does something like that, and if they don't, they probably face consequences for reporting something that they shouldn't have reported or trying to, implicate someone who didn't do anything. But I mean, we've gotten to the point where people don't look out for kids, and if it turns into part of a witch hunt, and if at least they have to investigate the situation. It's not that you just strictly go and take the person's word. And yeah, it's an expense, but man, we're screwing up our society. We're screwing up children, and that's worth some wasted money, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the money. I mean, I get it. Look, we wasted over $1 trillion in senseless wars we should have never gone into. That's not my concern. My concern is, getting everybody riled up looking for child molesters. Oh my God, he hugged a child too much, or this or that. Look, you should be on the lookout if you see something significant. Of course, you should report it anyway. And the question is, how are you going to enforce it? Because there's reasonable enforcement, and then things sometimes get carried away. Steve.
Look, a good starting point is to only require adults who actually have custody, control, and responsibility over the child. You can't have every adult responsible. So like if my neighbor is, let's say, molesting his kid or whatever, I should not have that legal duty on me to make that reporting. I mean, I have a moral obligation, but it shouldn't be a legal one.
Yeah, I totally agree
right?
with that. Yeah.
So that's a good starting point. And
wait, can you clarify that for a second? So if you know that he is molesting his daughter, for instance, right? So you're saying that you shouldn't have a legal obligation to go report this to authorities?
That's right. I should not have that legal obligation.
Yeah, and I'll tell you why I back that up. Because when you frame it that way, it sounds like, wow, that's terrible, right? No, because he thinks he knows. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
The question is, does he really know, right? So what Steve is saying is, if you're in charge of kids for one reason or another, whether it's a football program like Penn State or it's a church or whatever, then if you have a legal obligation to make sure that you turn in anyone else within that group that's doing that to kids, then I think that that's a lot more reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually taking it a little bit farther. I mean, even if I had 100% proof that my neighbor was molesting his daughter, I don't think there should be a legal obligation to report him because more of a civil liberty argument. You don't have a duty to be a good person. I mean, you should be a good person, but I don't think the state should mandate that behavior. You have a duty to not be a bad person and do bad things. For example, if you see someone injured on the side of a road and the person is dying, you're not legally obligated to help that person survive. You don't have to administer first aid if you know it. You don't have to do that.
Even if you're a doctor.
Yeah. I mean, and that sucks, but that's the way it is. I mean, the government should not force people to do things that are good because it's convenient. But it's totally different if you have a legal duty. If I'm a doctor and you're in my office and you're under my care, I have a legal duty to help you be healthy.
But
The
couldn't
same
you
thing.
say that you are a bad person if you know without a shadow of a doubt that a child is being molested and you don't report it?
No, of course you're a bad person.
Right.
Okay, but that doesn't mean that
But
it's...
Steve just said right now we are legally required to not be bad people, right?
Under that circumstance, because you have care over that person, right? When you don't have care over that person in a legal sense, I agree with Steve. It sounds bad, right? I'm just like, Jesus, you know 100% certain that the guy's a child molester. You should turn him. But think about it, where it stretches, right? Well, you know with 100% certainty that he's cheating on his taxes. Now do you have to rat him out on the taxes?
No.
Yeah, but we're talking about something completely. Taxes is such. Who cares, right?
All right, you know
but
for certain that
when it comes to the well-being of children, I think it's a little
How
different.
about the well-being of other human beings? So
I
you know
think
that he
that's
hit
also
his
important.
wife. Are you going to get into the middle of their marriage and report
Yes.
it?
I'm sorry, dude. I mean, there's a reason our whole society's falling apart because we don't give a shit about each other anymore. And you don't have to at this point, but there has to be some minimal effort that people give for each other. We talked about that. Was it in China where that little girl was laying in the
Right.
street and they ran trucks over? Why are we pissed off about that? Why are people going, oh my God, what's wrong with China?
But
dude,
JR,
apparently we can't wait to get just like that.
No, but the difference isn't whether we're pissed off or not. We're all pissed off. If you know the guy's a child molester, you didn't turn him in, I'm pissed off. The question is, should the state do something about it? So you're saying yes. Are you saying yes?
I'm leaning toward JR's.
All right, Steve
I'm
and
saying no way, no way. And this is exactly the reason why conservatives hate liberals, because we think by legislating we can do away with all the bad human emotions and somehow legislate human decency. If you're that type of person who knows that your neighbor is raping his daughter on a daily basis and you're not going to report it except because there's a law that you might get busted, really, is that going to really be that helpful? I think these kind of, rather than passing laws to mandate certain types of behavior, we should have PSAs. We should try to do more things and be more involved. But these laws are a joke. That girl in China is a perfect example. What are we going to have a law that says if you see his child hit by a car, you must run out and save that child? Is that the law? How are you going to legislate it?
You don't have
how are you
to
going
save
enforce
that
it? How are you going to do
child,
anything?
but you have
It doesn't
to
make any
report it at
sense.
least.
No,
The
you
problem-
have to
hold
have
on,
a
Steve.
duty. You have
Steve.
to have a legal duty to be obligated by the state to perform an act. I don't think the state should make you act in a way, even if it's a good act, unless you have a duty to act that way.
The reason why what happened to that Chinese girl was so egregious is because no one did anything. No one even wanted to call I don't know if they have 911 in China, but
I know.
call the authorities to help the kid.
So Anna,
here in the U.S.,
if there was a law, how many of those people should be arrested? Every single person on that street? Every single shopkeeper?
JR
Come
is
on,
saying yes.
guys.
All right,
Come on.
Listen. We're all clear on this. We're all clear on our respective opinions, and the court is split 2-2. Okay, so obviously the
All I'm
Chief
saying
Justice is going to decide. this.
I'm sorry.
This guy
dude.
loves to add extra opinions.
Yeah, because I've got 2 words in. This guy's
Okay.
been going with this crazy shit for 5 minutes. This is ridiculous, dude. Okay, so when is your daughter? When is your daughter and when is your son? I bet you're fucking fired up now. I bet you're like, what the fuck? Why didn't you come in there and say something about what's going on? I'm gonna kick everybody's ass who just walked over my kid and stomped on his fucking head right when this was going on. You know what? Yeah, you can be a bad guy. Expect some fucking consequences. Expecting some vigilante justice, and don't get mad when it happens. Just don't.
I hear you, JR, and I understand your passion and your rage, and if it's my kid, I would have probably equivalent or more Turkish rage, okay? But we're going to get in each other's businesses, man. Well, oh, Jesus did this, Ben did that. Oh, did you know that, Arthur over there is, taking extra pens from the office? I got a duty to report him. It's going to be crazy.
It's not going to be a perfect world, man, but it's going to be better than what we got because we're destroying it.
All right, Chief Justice.
It's not going to get any better.
I throw myself at the mercy of the court, okay? So I need the Chief Justice to decide this, and I will accept his decision. Go ahead.
Man, this is a tough, because I think Steve makes a great argument. Like, you can't make people be good to your own standards. It's hard to apply it. Obviously, there is a general sense of like, yeah, this is good and this is bad, but where do you draw that line? Like, should I, like Steve says, like, if I see a cat in the building that's burning, am I supposed to go, like, where does it? So I will. You see?
By the way, hey, let me just add one really important distinction.
These guys love to add. Yes, go ahead.
No, but this mandate doesn't have to do with, spousal abuse, right? It has to do specifically with kids being abused.
No, yeah.
You know what? That's a good point of clarification. Okay, point of process. So the specific ruling is on the child molestation that Anna brought up. So, Chief Justice.
So on specifics, I would say yes, you should say something. But overall, like you guys are saying, like if you see someone, I don't know, robbing something, and you have to say something, I would
so
say
your
no.
decision is very specific. If it's child molestation, even if it's the neighbor, if it's anyone else, you should have a legal duty to report. But any other case, this decision does not apply to those.
Yes.
Okay, we have a ruling. We have a ruling, ladies and gentlemen. Guilty.
I don't know, what does that mean? But what does that mean?
All right, by 3-2, no, you guys win. Legal duty to report from going forward. The states that are doing it are correct in doing so. I don't agree, but that is how the TYT Supreme Court has ruled, and I am not Newt Gingrich. I will abide by your decisions.